All right, Ian, that game, Super Mario Odyssey,
Hey,
it's pretty fun.
came out, and it is pretty good.
For that Nintendo Switch system, that's doing okay.
Yeah. So Super Mario Odyssey came out. Everyone knows about it. Everyone's already formed their opinions. We're late, guys. Old news. But anyways,
It came out a week ago.
well, you know how it works in this
Well,
world.
wait, with the new location, we can be podcasting every day.
Maybe we should just be sent to the glue factory. Because we're old. This is old news.
Dog track time.
Yeah.
Go, Ian!
So, Mario Odyssey is the new Super Mario game where you use your hat to take over enemies and do fun stuff. It's pretty fantastic. I'm about 7 levels in.
I'm 5. I just got the New Donk City.
You just got to New Donk?
I think so. That's 5 in. I was just in the woods, like Endor level with the big sequoias, and now New Donk was after that. Lake was 4th. Hat, desert, icy kingdom, the forest, underwater, and then that. Yeah.
Okay, you can think you're at New Donk City.
Is that a spoiler, you fucker? You fucker. It said I'm at New Donk City. I didn't get out of the thing yet.
So, my take on the game is that it's the levels are perfect. The game is gorgeous, and the level sizes are basically perfect. Everything's got a very happy vibe. I think the soundtrack is one of the best video game soundtracks I've heard in almost forever.
So far,
it's
eclectic and matches the levels. It's not. It doesn't. You don't get sick of it, even though it's looping. You know what I mean? It's just the right ambiance, but it's also it does bulge out every now and then, like my crotch.
Right. And there's little influences here and there, like the music fits every stage perfectly. I think like the hat level, there's a lot of I hear a lot of Disney, Haunted Mansion influences in there and stuff like that.
Town or whatever.
Yeah. So I think that's fantastic. I love one of my biggest concerns when they started showing off Super Mario Odyssey was I thought the gameplay was going to become too puzzle dependent. I was afraid that you were going to be too hung up on trying to solve puzzles or do things with the enemies in your hat, and it was going to get bogged down in a lot of start and stop. But the difficulty level in Mario Odyssey is actually very low that I've experienced so far.
It's low to medium. I mean, lower. Yeah, it's like a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't think it's very, very difficult at all. So, while that might be a problem to some people, for a person like me who generally doesn't like the structure of a game like Mario Odyssey, where you have to, hunt for things to move on.
Small sandbox, but you have to still do some hunting, yeah. For the moons. You have to get the moons.
This allows the game to flow very easily, and each stage has so many moons that you never really feel like... You never really feel like you're stuck. Each level, when you open up those maps, they give you the little X's to kind of guide yourself to.
For the next objective.
Yeah, and each world has enough little objectives or a little story.
There's 3 to 4 per world.
Yeah, and if you follow those, you're generally going to find enough moons in any given stage to move on.
I was talking about that with our pal Chris Kohler from Kotaku before. I'll awkwardly put you on speakerphone. We were talking about because he's reviewed it. Is that I love the structure because you don't feel obligated to go out of your way necessarily to hunt for the moons. You might be tempted to see, oh, look at that little puzzle over there. There might be one over there. Let's look around the corner. But on your general path, in theory, you should find them as you go. So you could play quickly through it if you want to without having to linger on the world. And after you do the main objectives, more open up, more mini games and mini quests to get more. But you don't have to stick around. But you can.
Right, and I want to more so in a game like Odyssey than I have in other hunt and peck games. It's not really what they're called. The modern 3D platformer, say like the original Mario 64, or games like that. We're so far along now that the cameras are better. These ideas are better. The controls are better. The way they handle games like this it's friendlier. It's just easier to. It doesn't frustrate me in the way that these sorts of games used to frustrate me.
Sure.
Plus, like I said, level design is huge. These levels are gorgeous and interesting. That forest level that you're talking about, to me, is one of the most interesting levels I've played in a game in a while. The interesting mixture of forest and machinery. Like, I really like that level. I want to actively go explore that.
Sure.
If I had any complaints about the game, and I have a couple of small ones, it's that I do wish it was a little bit more challenging in some areas. I wish there was a few more enemies scattered about in certain places, and maybe I'll see that as since I'm, I guess, heading into the end game, that weren't, possessable, just a couple more obstacle type enemies. And while I realize it wouldn't fit in, I do find myself missing some of the classic iconography. I miss some power-ups, obviously, the fire flower and, stuff like that.
Yeah, I understand why they got rid of it, because you had the hat.
Yeah, I realize that it would be tough to balance
redundant
between the two. And I know that the enemies do reappear if you screw up. They have to, so you can get to the certain places that you use those powers for. But I do miss some of that.
Sure. Good points, mostly. I think that I like that the challenge is dictated upon how many moons you want to look for.
True.
The only place where I actually said, fuck it, I'll come back later, was I think on each level there is one hidden place where you do a whole obstacle course where it's like it's like generic, almost like training level look.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's been in, I think, all of them since 64. Like, there were levels like that, say, in Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, so it's like you can see like graph on the background.
Yeah.
So there's one that I haven't completed. I think it was the third one. I was like, ooh, this is tough. The one where it keeps coming out out of the side walls, and I'm like, you have to really time it. I was late. I was like, all right, this is tough. That was not a simple one, at least for me at the time. So I got to come back and do that one again.
Sure.
But you don't have to. Like, I didn't feel guilty skipping it. Like, when I look at the map, I'm frustrated and not, or I'm like, oh, there's like 45, 50 moons in this level. I only have 23. And I'm like, ooh. And I looked for a chunk of them. Even when you can, what I like about the game is that you can buy from the toad in each level. Toadstool, he'll tell you where they are for 50 coins each. I couldn't even still find some of them.
Well, yeah, because
when they were pointing out, it was like, oh, here's one. And I'm like walking around in the desert. I'm like, where the hell is this? I'm like on top of it.
Well, it's like, he says bust a nut in a tree. And it's like, okay, well, there is a nut in a tree that you have to go break. And by the way, Nintendo,
is that really what you didn't make that up?
No, it's a break a nut in a tree. Or,
well, that's the big difference between break and bust a nut.
I don't know. I mean, we're going to go with bust a nut in a tree. But there's a lot of trees and a lot of nuts.
So you have to go search for it.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying is that I think that's the beauty of it, that the replayability, when people are saying, oh, you can replay this, and once you do the main quest, you'll come back. I can see why, because like I stated before, when you do your main objective, you beat the brutal boss, the little rabbit guy or female, you can come back and keep playing and finding stuff that's now unlocked.
Yep.
From before. And yes, there are unlockables in each level for each. There's a state specific coin for each level to get that stuff, and then coins to buy whatever else. So, but you don't need most of that stuff except for a few places to move on, like getting the Mario swimmies and trunks to go to the room to get a moon.
Yeah, each level also seems to have a costume specific moon that you need to get. There's a moon that you can buy from each of the hat shops. There's those consistents.
Don't give it away, but so far that's my only disappointment, is that there's only one costume that helps you, which is the swimmies, and that makes you swim quicker. That's the only one so far where I'm like, oh, maybe they could have added that to other stages to give you a little bit of boost.
Does that actually make you swim faster?
It's a little bit. I don't know if it was just in my head, but when I was playing, it was like,
I'm under the impression that none of the costumes give
okay,
you
I thought it was quicker. Putting on the little tube and putting on the sword. It looked quicker to me. I kept it on, and it seemed like it was quicker. You don't remember that when you switched to it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I know
Am I crazy? I thought it was. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think any of the costumes do diddly.
Okay,
shit.
I thought it made me quicker. But then again, I was playing at like 1 a.m. So, but I thought it gave me quick. Anyway, so I like the freedom. I actually feel like I have more freedom and fun playing this game because the stage design is limited in scope and smaller than something like Breath of the Wild, which is going to be compared to, which is totally open, and you have to find your quests where they are and then do that. It almost seems like there's more to do in a game like Odyssey. Well, because you want to go talk to all the little guys hanging out and see what they have to say. In Breath of the Wild, they kind of, you don't really have to after a while. You know, you can sort of just skip it.
Sure. I mean, they're just dropping you into these really cool, colorful little playgrounds and telling you this is what you're fucking around in until, you know, we arbitrarily decide that we're going to let you go play in the other playground.
Sure. So there's going to be obviously comparisons between the two because they're both near perfect games, but it's just that like you're going to gravitate towards one or the other. And right now, I'm having more fun overall. I had fun playing both, but Odyssey, I'm like, ooh, this is interesting and more fun, and I'm smiling at this more. And Zelda was more like, this is a peaceful time away from everything, and the fact that you can capture, like, when you turn into the cute little cheap fish, and you're going,
that's
adorable.
That's my favorite thing.
It's adorable.
Far. Yeah,
it's fucking adorable. I mean, how can you not like that?
And when Gerard and Norm and I were talking about it, and we decided that at that point, and I think still to this day, or still at this point in me playing it, that's my favorite, most adorable transformation is Cheap Mario.
Yeah, it's the cutest thing I've seen.
So real quick before we move on, because we are gonna bring we're gonna talk more about Nintendo later. It should be noted that Super Mario Odyssey sold through 90% of its initial shipment on launch day. Within 2 days, it moved just over 2 million units.
That's insane.
In 2 days.
So that's almost
that's over a quarter attachment rate to the amount of systems, and we'll get into that later, that have sold so far in 2 days. Over a quarter of the people who own a Switch owned Mario Odyssey within 2 days of it coming out.
And they'll sell another, whatever, 4 million
fucking gajillion
this holiday season and beyond. Because if Zelda doesn't appeal to you, like, let's put it this way, this game will appeal to everyone. Breath of the Wild may not appeal to like a 4-year-old or 5-year-old.
Look, if Mario doesn't appeal to you, then Zelda or Splatoon will appeal to you.
But the point is that this is the game, this is the killer app that, in the Breath of the Wild was, I always say, it was sort of a killer app, I think. Like, for the most part, it's a killer app, but this is the game that will sell the system even more so.
Well, we'll
get into it more. My last thing to say about the game is that, like I said, I've been having loads of fun playing it. I've been playing it both in the TV and in handheld mode. The only little bit I would say bothers me is that in order to get the full experience, you really have to play with the Joy-Con separated versus in tablet mode.
Because there is motion controls.
They're not required for the most part. They're not required, but it will help you on your way using the motion controls.
You can definitely,
you can get by without them.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, you can absolutely beat the game without using the motion controls, but there are some moves and some capabilities that make certain situations a lot handier if you do use them.
There's only really 2 moves. There's the heat-seeking hat throw, and then the whirly hat throw, where that's even tough to pull out with the Joy-Con separated. That's the only thing that I cannot pull off, I'd say, only half the time when I want to, at least when I try to do it, is the circular throw.
That's with a Pro controller, it's easy. You just go like that.
Okay, well, I don't have a Pro controller. I have the Joy-Cons. So the Joy-Cons, it's a little harder. Throwing the hat up, you don't need to do that in the game, but that you have to have it angled just straight forward. So that's a little tough. But otherwise, though, the controls are absolutely spot on. The camera has given me issues a couple times where it was locked in a position I thought was not the best, and there's some points where you can't move it yourself. Otherwise, though, I think the camera's been pretty good. I usually put it on medium. I probably have to switch it to high but medium.
Yeah, it's really slow on default.
So there you go. So Super Mario Odyssey, it's probably deserving of a 10 out of 10. I probably only played halfway through it, not even at this point. And I love the tank mode. The tank mode is fucking fun.
That's fun, yeah.
It reminds me like American Gladiators playing Assault.
Mm-hmm.